our closing line Saturday, September 28th. DJ Big Boss, Big Ragoo, Ian Cameron. I am Drew Martin. Guys, we got a Saturday football card up in less than 1 hour. We got best bets, Virginia, Notre Dame, a bunch of games to go over. Money line underdogs as well. But heading down to the state of Florida. Happy Saturday morning to you, Big Ragoo. Welcome to the show, bud.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, girls, everybody. Had a pretty good day yesterday on the college football slate, and hopefully break some more games down with you guys today and put some guys on some winners.
Absolutely. And your partner in crime, DJ Big Boss from the state of California. Happy Saturday morning to you, DJ Big Boss.
Happy Saturday morning to all of you, too. Man, this is not the best card for me this weekend. Not too excited to jump into this one. Don't see no real spots that I like, but the ones that I really like my guy Big Ragoo taught me this week, it's nothing but some meatball plays. And I don't know, waking up this morning, I don't know. I got a lot of thinking to do in a short amount of time.
That's what it's all about. That's what this show is for. A lot of plays, a lot of games in a short amount of time. We will be in and out before 12 noon kickoff Eastern time. We got Ian Cameron from north of the border on Twitter at Babano. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm looking at this card, Drew, and Boss in the Sauce. Good to be with you as always. And I'm looking at it, and it's like, this isn't as big a card as we usually see on a Saturday because my rotation isn't as long going top to bottom. So looking at the betting board. So you're right. It's not quite as many games. There's not a chock full of big time games. I guess the top three, at least in my book, probably would be in Notre Dame, Virginia, which we'll talk about. Ohio State, Nebraska, pretty big game, even though Nebraska's kind of underachieved, and probably throw Auburn, Mississippi State in there as a pretty interesting game as well. So we'll break them all down. So let's get to it.
Yeah, we'll get after the full card, some small conference matchups as well. But guys, let's start off with the big one. Ian mentioned it. Virginia, Notre Dame, good one here. What about double digits here? Notre Dame, their defense got after it against Georgia, went in between the hedges against one of the best teams in the country. And hey, let's be honest, the game was in doubt in the closing minutes on the road. I kind of knocked them up in terms of power ratings. It's not a game that I've bet as of now, but I'll tell you, if you made me bet it, I would lay it with the Irish. DJ Big Boss, I know you got a good read on the Irish. Big fan, lifelong fan. Are you looking to get involved here with the Irish and Cavaliers?
This game right here, I was on it early in the week. It's just a game right now, because of the line movement. The line movement's been jumping around a little bit. That kind of tells you, sharps are jumping in here or there. And then at the same time, I'm not totally comfortable with my Notre Dame team right now on offense. And I think the defense that we saw against Georgia, it could be overvalued because, like I said earlier this week, the main key with Notre Dame defense playing Georgia was that Kelly has figured out that you have to use speed against strength. And those guys over there at Georgia, they were, for lack of a better word, they're big, but some of those linemen are fat, you know what I'm saying? But so they just ran around those guys, and they look real good doing it. I don't know, a better size appropriate team like Virginia. I'm tiptoeing through this one, and then I said, the better part probably be a side on this one, and I think I'm going into the side right now. But they didn't drop the line so low in this one to 46. I'm thinking about going over in this one because there's always hope on the other side. If Ian Book, it all lies on Ian Book at home right here. If he really gets it together and can go at a nice pace, then yeah, we roll these guys and it goes over. But if he struggles again, and because he has decent blocking, he doesn't have really excuse. He's not letting go of the ball. He's not being aggressive. He's not taking the running lanes when they're available. So if they can fix those things, then yeah, we can take this game over. And one thing I'll say as a tip to everyone is that when Notre Dame plays at home, we usually like to come out first series, second series, max, we score a 7.
All right, first series maybe. If there's a prop bet out there, never know about that. But looks like leaning towards Notre Dame. Ian, what about you? What are you thinking here with the Fighting Irish and the Who's?
Well, I thought coming into the season, guys, that Virginia was going to be a pretty solid football team. And this is actually one of the spots before this. As you go through and you see teams that you think are going to be pretty solid, I thought that about Virginia. And then you actually go through and look at their schedule. And sometimes I do that before the season, just schedule analysis, spots that you would think you would be interested backing a certain team in. And even before the season, I saw this spot at Notre Dame as one that I said, you know what, this is probably a good bet on spot for Virginia. And I actually have gone ahead and bet them here in this game. Now I got 12.5. It's down to about probably 11 in most spots right now. But I'm going to take the points here with Virginia. This is a dubious spot for Notre Dame, coming off the physical, emotional intensity of being in that bubbling cauldron environment of Athens in between the hedges last week against Georgia. Brian Kelly said it after the game, and it's a quote that stood out to me all week long and trying to build this case for Virginia, saying, it's probably one of the most draining games and most physical football games I've ever been involved in coaching. You know, when I hear a quote like that, God, it smells like letdown or hangover emotionally and physically, possibly written all over it today for this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team. I think if you match up the talent on paper and you say Notre Dame's A game versus Virginia's A game, then Notre Dame's probably got at least somewhat of a chance to cover this number. But I don't know if we'll get Notre Dame's A game. I think we'll get a better performance out of Virginia. Virginia last week was their bad spot. You know, when they were playing Old Dominion, the little brother in-state team always gets fired up to play the bigger brother, the bigger name program. And we saw that from Old Dominion. Virginia was sandwiched between the comeback against Florida State and the Notre Dame game. Now they're in the good spot, and now their opponent's in the not great spot. I like their defense. I like the dual threat quarterback, Bryce Perkins. The one concern for Virginia is can't get far behind, can't fall behind by more than 2 touchdowns. They're not an offense loaded with playmakers. They're not an offense loaded with explosiveness and speed. They're a dink and dunk, methodically move the chains first down to first down type of offense. But I think Notre Dame may be in trouble to even build any kind of margin here in this game, because I think defensively, Virginia can throw some stuff at Ian Book, who to me has not played a great game start to finish yet this season at the quarterback position for Notre Dame. Long-term under Bronco Mendenhall, Virginia's been good on the road as underdogs. It's been a good point spread roll for them. So give me Virginia here, plus the points. I think they hang within this number.
All right, going with the dog. I like it, Ian. All right. I mean, I like it in the sense, stepping out there, man. I'm kind of liking the other side, but Big Ragoo, what are you thinking here, man? Be the middleman.
Yeah, my sentiments are kind of along the lines with Ian. I mean, if Notre Dame would have pulled this game off last week, this might have been another back-to-back game day for them, even though they probably didn't have it set up that way. This would have had the makings of a major marquee game. Notre Dame, they are in a tough spot. They were physically drained against Georgia last week, and the same thing for flip side for Virginia. They came off of that big game the prior week with FSU. Held on, came from behind, and then had a tough look against Old Dominion. Getting down early. So I mean, these teams, they kind of mirror one another in a different aspect. You got 2 mobile quarterbacks that can make plays downfield with their legs. And you got a defensive-minded Bronco Mendenhall, which is, kind of changed that program around, and he's in his fourth year there. And we know what our guy in North Bend does with his squads. He gets them ready to play. But this game, to me, is going to be between the ears for Notre Dame if they're physically able to get on the field and mentally produce. And they should probably squeeze this game out, but I lean more towards the points here. It's a better spot for Virginia coming on the road for that comeback win against Old D, and then let down spot for Notre Dame here. So I would definitely lean the points. There is a lot of two-way action, like DJ says. People are coming in and out at 12, 11.5. Sharps popping in, public money coming the other way. So either way, 11.5, 12. That's where the number's probably going to wind up going off at kickoff time. So I would definitely lean with the points here, taking the points.
All right, taking the points, Big Ragoo. We got a bunch of guys in the chat box. Nasty Nate, Russell Gordy, Mr. Russell, BT, Ralph Portuando. Everyone welcome in. El Duque, Yellow Jesus saying smash the like button. Absolutely, guys. That would help us out. Trying to give out as many winners as possible this Saturday morning. We'll be here right up until kickoff. We got best bets at the end. Guys, really wanted to open it up. Any games on the board that are kind of tickling your fancy, stuff that you've invested in, want to throw it out there. Keeping in mind, we do have the money line underdog segment coming up before best bets. But Ian, you want to start us off with a game or two you want to throw out there to the watchers?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, we'll start with the early games, the ones that are kicking off at the top of the hour, noon Eastern. I've mentioned this. I believe I mentioned this on the show with Jimmy the Bag on Thursday when I was on with him. I like the Chippewas. We're going to look at Central Michigan plus the points against Western. Rivalry game. There's never been a double-digit point spread in this rivalry game in state, I think, in like 17 years or something like that. And the reason why this number is inflated in my mind is because Western Michigan, Wasink's a good quarterback. I like their offense quite a bit. That's a good football team, Western Michigan. And Central Michigan was brutal last year. But I see signs of life from Central Michigan the last few games. You look at, I know they got bombed by Wisconsin, but that loss doesn't look so bad now with what Wisconsin's done in subsequent games since then. But you look at Central Michigan, they played better after that, got a nice win in bounce back mode. And then against the Miami Hurricanes last week, I was very impressed with that Central Michigan team. Defensively, they hung in there. They were outmanned, obviously, in terms of, the quality and star level of athlete, probably top to bottom, but hung in there against Miami on the road last week. Quarterback concerns for them slightly. I know Quinton Dormady not going to play out indefinitely, but David Moore, the guy who's going to play at quarterback for Central Michigan, he's more than capable of filling in. There's not this huge, whoa, Dormady was so great. It's a huge drop-off going from him to Moore. It's not. It's a minimal drop-off in my mind. If any. I think Central Michigan will be fine with just more. And Western Michigan's defense is still spotty. Let's not forget that. That's a team that they can pile up the points. They are going to be very, very tough for Central's defense to stop. But I think Western Michigan's defense is going to have to show me they can cover this kind of number. And Jim McElwain's a coach I like. I think it was a nice hire, him getting back into the college game here with Central Michigan, and I like the way they've played the last couple of games. So Central Michigan is a big dog here. Again, in a point spread that has rarely been this high in this rivalry, I think it's too many points.
Like the Chippewas in the Battle of the Directional Michigan Schools. Good one there, Ian. Big Ragoo, is there a game you wanted to bring up to the watchers?
Yeah, I talked about this in Jimmy's show also, and it's a look I went back and tried to peel some layers back on the team that I support immensely, not necessarily with the backing of the bets, but more or less, from a fan standpoint. FSU, we got to look at this team, what they're doing, and what's going wrong for them. So I try to figure out how to make money with these guys, and I'm going to get on board with it this week. I'm going to look at FSU in the first half. Ian's brought this up too. We know they can score points. Their defense is a problem for them. That's where the problem lies with this team. But I kind of went back and looked at some of their first halves, and they're averaging pretty close to 24 points in the first half, and their defenses are not the greatest, but they get wore down late in the game. So I think they can get out to an early lead on this particular game with NC State. NC State does field a tough program, and they have given FSU fits over the years. They have lost at home against this team too, by the way. But I think Hornibrook stepping in, they're missing that leadership overall in the locker room. They're young between the ears. I think this is a game that they can come back out and and take their program a little bit forward as far as rallying the troops, stepping up on D. But I like the first half look here at FSU and Tallahassee laying the four points at home.
And Big Ragoo, a follow-up question to that, a lot of guys in the industry that have had success say one of the better ways to win in sports betting is to kind of find these teams under the radar that a lot of the betting public has given up on, but they haven't quit on themselves, and kind of like a buy low for a couple weeks without the odds makers really catching on. Do you think Florida State fits that profile?
I think they do in this spot. I think, even though they kind of blew that Virginia game, they had the lead going in late, and they weren't able to convert that last play going into the end zone, and Virginia held. But I think that was kind of a growing up game for them overall on the road. Tough game there. So going forward, yeah, I do like if they clean some stuff up on the D side, I think they'll be competitive the rest of the way out. So and offense is not going to be an issue for this team. They're going to score points. So I'd lean the first half, or I'm going to play the first half minus the 4 points.
All right, Knowles in the first half minus the 4 points. We got DJ Big Boss, man. Is there any games you wanted to bring up, bud?
Absolutely. I'm in the middle of this one. I'm going over the Iowa State and Baylor game. I broke it all down on this one so far. Now we got the number 12 offense over here at Iowa State. It's going to be going against the number 9 defense in Baylor. And then we have the number 23 offense in Baylor going against the number 41 defense. Now, Baylor's a heavy run team. Basically, they run about 58% of the time, but they can throw the ball. They average about 243 in the air. But the astonishing thing on this game right here is both teams are completing their passes at a high rate, like 72% for Iowa State and 70% completion rate for Baylor. And then another thing to add to that, you got quarterback Purdy. He's at 6 TDs and 1 interception. And then you got Brewer on the other side at Baylor. He has no interceptions and 7 TDs. Now, 5 games in the season for some people, 4 games in the season for some of them. But at this point in the season right now, is 7 touchdowns a lot or a little? Because my formula would say in a game like this would be a under, because these two teams match up well. When you go into a matchup like this and they match up well, got a tight line already, the coaches more tend to the side of taking their time and trying to keep the possession and, strategize the game. That's the coach's job in this one right here. So I really lean hard on the under in this game. But I think when I first looked at the game, Iowa State, just their drive right now, the fact that they beat Iowa, I think that they may be a team that be a sleeper team right now. And I think they could even roll Baylor with the number 12 offense. They do a really good job passing. The pass nowadays can take you far in college football. So I really want to take Iowa State, but I don't know. Home dog right here, Baylor plus the points. So, if it comes down to a field goal or something crazy, that leans on your side. I'm not 100% sure on the side, but I'm definitely leaning hard on the under in this one. You guys got any looks on this one?
I would say, Iowa State looked good. It really all season long. They're a tough program, well coached. Baylor, out the gate, I mean, they could be really good as well. DJ Big Boss. It's just, the strength of schedule isn't there as much. So it's more of like, heading to the craps table to type of deal. I feel like if you're getting into bed with Baylor, however, you win at the craps table as well. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
I like Iowa State's defense in that matchup. Maybe they could. That's probably going to be the whole difference maker in the total. If Baylor's going to move the ball down the field against that defense, then they're probably going to fly over. But if Iowa's defense holds up, then you got a shot at the under in that one.
Yeah, and in terms of my thoughts on that game, like Iowa State in this price range, not looking to go against them. I like that team. I've liked Matt Campbell from day one. That was a great hire for this team. Now, I know they've lost some explosiveness offensively, but it's still a rock. So Montgomery, of course, who was a great running back for them, isn't there anymore. But it's a rock-solid defense. And I think I know that Iowa State's a pretty good Big 12 team. Pretty good. I'm not going to say elite, but a pretty good Big 12 team. I don't know what Baylor is yet, because Baylor's played a Dairy Queen soft schedule. To this point, they haven't played anybody close to the caliber of Iowa State. They could be pretty good too. So that's why I would lean slightly to Iowa State, but it's not a game I'm going to get involved with, because this is a chance for Baylor to show me here as a home underdog that they're a pretty good football team. I do know they have a good quarterback in Brewer. Question is that passing game and that offense going to work today against a good Iowa State defense? So it's basically a team, Iowa State, I don't want to go against, but because I think they're good. I don't know yet if Baylor's good. We'll see if they are today. If they do beat Iowa State today, that could be a sign that, hey, Baylor's ready to be a competitive, contending team here in the Big 12.
Well said, Ian. I agree with that. We got Red Girl in the house. Not Ordinary Sports as well. Top Set guys, welcome in. Tomar as well. Not like in Virginia. Paco Healy from the state of California in the house. A bunch of guys in here with different types of picks, saying Iowa State over. Big 12 unders are dangerous. That is true as well. A lot of guys in here. Guys, please smash the like button as well. I'm going to bring up 2 smaller conference games that I was kind of interested to see if you guys have an opinion. New Mexico and Liberty Two of these teams, I don't think either of them are necessarily very good. Liberty might have a chance at a bowl. I don't think New Mexico does as much. Interesting tidbit here. The old Liberty offensive coordinator now made the jump. Bob Davie hired him over in New Mexico, kind of like a last-ditch effort, in my opinion, to hold on to his job in Albuquerque. Going to be throwing the ball around a lot. It shows in the total at 72. I just don't think there's a lot of stops. I think this game could hit 100. I like the over in New Mexico and Liberty. Also, FAU and Charlotte, the Owls and the 49ers. Both of these two teams have kind of come on offensively of late, and I don't think it's showing in the total as much. It's actually dropped here. So interested in that. Going to check the weather as well, but 64.5. in the mid 60s, but still Conference USA. We got Lane Kiffin and company in the Charlotte 49ers offense, quarterback, running back, and some wide receivers that can make plays. I like the over of 64.5 in that as well. So 2 overs there, New Mexico and Liberty and FAU and Charlotte that I am looking at. Ian, anything on those or any other small conference or any other games on the board you wanted to bring up?
I'm with you on that FAU Charlotte over. No question about that. I mean, you look at Florida Atlantic. I know their offense has scuffled at times this year, but they've played some pretty decent defenses to this point. They've had some good tests against quality opposition, Ohio State, and they did score 21 in that game, UCF, first 2 games. Then they stepped down in class against some competition that they're as good or if not better than, and that's when we saw the offense get going. They scored 41 against Ball State, 42 against Wagner. They'll do damage against Charlotte. Charlotte is not very good defensively. We've seen Charlotte give up 52, or they gave up 56 points rather to App State. Okay, they only gave up 17 to UMass, but that's UMass, and of course Clemson hung 50 plus on them last week. So Charlotte's defense is going to give it up here to Florida Atlantic. I know Florida Atlantic underachieved a little offensively, but now that they're starting to take on teams that they can match up with more athletically, they're going to be fine offensively, especially against a bad defense like this. But Charlotte's going to score too. I like this Charlotte offense. The new coaching staff, they've opened it up. They're going a lot faster. This is one of the slowest paced teams in college football last year. Not anymore. This Charlotte team, that LeMay kid, the running back, he's absolutely fantastic. They can throw the ball a bit. They've got a lot of great creative play calling, and the Florida Atlantic defense is not very good. I think we're finding that out. 45 allowed to Ohio State, 48 allowed to UCF, 31 allowed to Ball State. So against FBS foes, they've given up 30 plus in every game. You got 2 teams that play with pace, play with tempo. Yeah, I thought this number should have been high 60s, not mid 60s. Love that game over the total.
All right, a lot of guys in the chat as well liking it as well. Top Set saying he's on FAU team total over 32. Mr. Edwards in the house saying FAU Charlotte game over is his play of the day. Guys, any other games? DJ Big Boss, you wanted to bring up out there on the West Coast or anything?
Not much going over here in the West Coast. I don't know about this USC game. Like I said, USC already reached their limit with me. But this another time that I just want to take a stab with USC and the points right here. I'm not even used to receiving points like this with USC, and they're any given Saturday team. They have talent on the team. They have plenty of talent on the team and just don't have it all grouped together and going in the right angle and doing the right thing. So, teams can gel overnight. With the littlest of anything can get them to come together. So I would like to back USC in this one and take the points, but I'm just going to stand with my hands in my pocket.
Yeah, that game is fascinating to me because, USC gets the extra day of preparation. I mean, they look talented, DJ Big Boss. It's just going on the road against the Washington team that is going to, has a good defense, well coached themselves, good quarterback play for the first time in a while there for the Huskies. It's almost like one of those games I could feel the defense scoring and it kind of snowballing on USC in a bad way. That's what's keeping me off of it. I don't know. I'm with you, though. I mean, a lot of points with this pretty talented overall USC team. I just can't get there to the window. I don't know. Big Ragoo, what are you thinking here with the Trojans and Huskies?
I think the Trojans are one-dimensional in this spot. I think they kind of got They showed out against Utah. That was a bad matchup for Utah and the DBs. It's going to be a different story here up in Washington. Like you said, the talent in the quarterback position, the tough defense, and all they got to do is basically stop the pass, and their run game is horrific. So I like Washington. The line's 10.5 for a reason, and I think Washington's probably going to get the easy cover in this game.
I got something to add to that one too. As a local right here, Pac-12 sports and stuff like that, some of the top talent goes to USC, and all these guys, USC, Washington, Oregon, they all played each other in high school, were teammates, so forth and so on. And these guys know each other, and that's the thing. If I played at modern day and I constantly thrash your team, when we get over here, we line up, mostly in the wide receiver DB battles, because that's what, they recruit a lot of those out of here. And, the quarterbacks are not so much in the running game, but Stanford, Washington, USC, it's all about recruiting in those areas, and a lot of those kids play together, and that's why you get so Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde games over there in the Pac-12.
Ian, jump in here, man, if you got anything on USC versus Washington or any other games you want to bring
I
up.
will not be stepping in front of Washington. I can tell you that. I like Washington quite a bit. They were very – as easy as it got last week for me with them against BYU. I mean, they absolutely destroyed that team. That was a 2-unit bet, I think, in the contest as well. I don't know about laying 10.5, but I'll tell you what, I don't want USC. It's Washington or nothing in this spot. I've sung the praises of Jacob Eason all season long. I'm probably sounding like a broken record right now, but he is a better quarterback than Jake Browning was. I mean, we are finding that out. He can stretch the field. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's more accurate, can make all the throws, whereas Browning was just not accurate. It didn't seem like he could make those deep balls and make that to get those ball throws into tight windows. Jacob Eason's doing that. I don't think Browning did that well enough, and we're finding that out. Matt Fink, the quarterback here for USC, they've announced that Slovis not going to play. That's the concern. They're such a pass-heavy offense now with Graham Harrell bringing that North Texas air raid with him to USC as the offensive coordinator. They don't run the football a ton, and they're not exactly a huge production team running the football. It could be a little bit of trouble here against Washington. I was actually circling this game over the total. I still lean that way. It's maybe a small play, but I was hoping for better number than 60.5, 61. That's a pretty high number for a Washington team. I'm disappointed by it. I think odds makers have sort of caught on to the fact Washington is a lot more explosive offensively this season than they were last year. I was the team I had marked to back some overs with, but low 60s for a game for Washington at home is a pretty high number. You can tell an adjustment has been made.
Yeah, and DJ Big Boss, it kind of correlates with the Utah game because USC just coming off that Utah game. We got some guys in the chat here. Bookie Lover Q saying Utah is looking vulnerable. Also, Tomar saying Utah's offensive line was horrible. Washington's offensive line is much better, kind of leans you towards the Huskies there in the USC game. But talking about this Utah team, in both Utah and USC getting an extra day to prepare, going up against each other, I kind of just felt like, the 50-50 balls went more USC's way. Not sure if that's really going to happen against Washington as much. It's tough to bet on. That's what kind of leans me towards Washington. But also on the Utah side, I guess you could make the argument their offensive line didn't look that good. Moss is now banged up. Plus the quarterback Huntley took a lot of big shots. But Utah's defense is still pretty solid in my estimation. Plus the fact that they're very well coached under Whittingham. Going up against Washington State, the Cougars. Mike Leach in his own right, in my opinion, is kind of an underrated head coach, the pirate out there in Pullman, Washington. But we just saw what happened to Washington State against UCLA. It's almost one of those, is that like, soul crushing, or is it kind of rally the troops and get back after it against a good Pac-12 South team? This Utah team is laying a dead number right around 4.5, 5.5, something like that. I find this to be a fascinating matchup too. Are you interested in the Cougars and Utes?
No, I'm staying far away from that one. I don't like Washington. The Washington teams don't work out with me at all. Sometimes they score a lot, and then sometimes they can win games at a low scoring rate, and I just never can key in on them like I want to. So I usually stray away from those games right there. But to what you said about USC and those 50-50 balls, that goes back to what I said about talent and recruiting over here on the West, because before the season, it was rah that Utah was going to be this great team and this, that, and the other. They were going to take the Pac-12. But you see, they went down to a team like USC just because of talent. Those guys played each other before. Those linemen's been in the trenches before. But that's just another note to that. But yeah, I'm totally off of that game. Have you seen some of the calls that goes down in the Pac-12? You seen some of the stuff that they missed? Did you see the Ole Miss game? Did you see how they did Ole Miss at the end? I don't really want to have too much to do with the Pac-12 games. And, they right here is nice to watch at night, but, I tread water real careful over there.
Absolutely, man. Pac-12 after dark. Ian or Big Ragoo, is there anything you guys want to bring up? Get the money line underdogs and best bets?
Well, that's a good segue for me, my man, on that one, because that's going to be my underdog play today is Washington State on that game. I mean, just because of what USC exposed to on the defensive side for Utah, I think the matchups are going to be horrific for them. Even though they're a solid unit, defensively speaking, overall, I just think they're going to be real vulnerable to the pass. And talking about that USC game, what Utah was able to accomplish in that game, even though they got banged up pretty good, on the running back and with the quarterback, they still were able to move the ball up and down the field. They just didn't convert the big plays, and they were very one-dimensional, like I said, USC in that game to expose it. I think the air raid attack is going to be a good look for Washington State, even though they shit the bed in that UCLA game. I think they get back on track here. I think they'll be able to put up points, a ton of points. Maybe not an over-type game, but enough points to win the game. That's going to be my upset special. I'm taking Washington State to win the game outright as my dog play today.
Money line dog for Big Ragoo, like in Washington State for sure. And Ian, what about you, man? You got a money line team you're looking at on today's card?
I definitely like Washington State for a little bit in this game. They've been a tremendous road underdog under Mike Leach. I mean, you go back the last several years, this has been a phenomenal point spread role for Mike Leach and Washington State. I think since 2013, I've got this number here, 16-4-1 against the spread as a road dog since 2013. And I know I've been on this team in the past many times as a road underdog when Minshew was the quarterback, all the way back when Luke Falk was the quarterback of this Washington State team. They'd be in that road underdog role, and they'd just be like this wash, rinse, repeat, cash in each time, and that's the role they're in here. And, Utah was a little disappointing to me because I backed them against USC. I sometimes hate doing that. I bet against it, or I bet on a team, I lose, and then I come back the next week and I bet against them, risking that I don't want to lose now. I'll really be upset, But I think this is a reasonable spot to bet against Utah because I love their D-line, no question, but the secondary's not been able to cover, good receivers down the field to the level we usually expect from this Kyle Whittingham coach team. They just have been turned around. They've been beaten down the field in the pass defense. That's a concern, obviously, when you're facing Gordon and the air raid Mike Leach attack here with Washington State. That's a concern going into this game. And I know there's going to be that knee-jerk reaction. Some people will say, what a horrible loss for Washington State against UCLA. That was just one of those shit show, crazy goofball football games that broke out. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no explanation for it. UCLA got a bunch of turnovers to go their way. That's really what fueled that comeback for the Bruins. And then once the snowball got rolling down the hill, Thompson Robinson played well. It was just one of those situations where Washington State just got caught up in it. They sort of panicked a bit. Mike Leach alluded to it. We panicked. We lost our cool. We sort of forgot what we had to do out there on the field, especially defensively, and the game got away from them. I don't think that is a sign that, Washington State stinks now. They're going to go into the tank for the rest of the season. No, I don't think so. I think they've got still the quality enough team and squad to bounce back today, get away from Pullman, go on the road, and at least hang tough with Utah. I think they will. So I would definitely lean to taking the points with the Cougars as well.
Okay, liking that for the money line underdog and taking the points as well. DJ Big Boss, did you want to throw out a money line underdog?
Money line under. Now, I did just say that I don't like going over to Pac-12 and that I tread lightly over there. And another thing, hats off to Big Ragoo, man. Big Ragoo doesn't really do Pac-12 like that, and he's been smashing Pac-12.
It's my new favorite conference, man. I don't know what happened overnight. I just fell in love with the conference again. So there's a lot of vulnerability there. But I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had to say that.
But yeah, man, kudos to you, man, with that one. I'm loving it, Big Ragoo. And this one right here, my dog of the day comes out of the Pac-12. And I'm going to roll with UCLA. Things look funny with the line in this game. How is the total up so high, but you expect this team that just had it coming off a good, powerful win for a team that's rebuilding with a comeback win like that? And then, you giving them points right here. man, give me UCLA on the money line. I seen some things that Kelly does over there with the running game, and he has some new stuff to offer, some new looks that some teams haven't seen. And I think that this Arizona squad, they have some holes in there a lot. The quarterback is wishy-washy. The offensive line is wishy-washy. They don't have no lockdown D or nothing like that. That's why the total is high. I think UCLA is a live dog on the money line right here today.
All right, good one there in the Pac-12. I'll stay in the Pac-12 at my money line underdog. Looking at Oregon State, the Beavers. One, I think they're a little bit underrated going forward in the betting markets, but even more so, I think Stanford is fade city. They've had a tough go of it, going to the East Coast, back to the West Coast, and just really rough spots time after time. Now having to face Oregon State. I feel that Oregon State can stay within the number. The market has kind of agreed with me here, pushing it down to 3. So maybe throwing out that 3 and just going after the money line at a plus price with the Beavers, worth a look. Guys, we got well over 300 people watching. We really appreciate it. If you could smash the like button, that will help us out. We're also here every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern time on the SBR YouTube channel. Come back and join us each and every Saturday of college football season. Guys, time for best bets. We can get after it, go around the horn. DJ Big Boss from the state of California, part of Big Boss and the Sauce. Good show as well on the YouTube channel. DJ Big Boss, what do you got for best bets, man?
Well, it's crazy to see that Big Ragoo finds himself in the Pac-12, but I find myself running back to the SEC. And on this one right here, this South Carolina, Kentucky, this game right here, it just looks like a dead over to me all the way. You got the number 78 defense with the number 100 defense, and then you got the number 68 offense with the number 50 defense. Looks like nobody will be in control of each other. Kentucky has a wonderful passing game. They play hard. I think they could put up quite a few touchdowns, and I think the running game over at South Carolina is nice too, and what they got going over there can put up some points as well. So my best bet of the day is the over in the Kentucky game. What is the line at now? I was looking at it way earlier this week. I don't think it was still at 51, is it?
I don't have it in front of me. Having some internet issues with my other computer, but
54 is the total. 54 the total. South Carolina -3 right now.
All right, so 54 towards the over in the SEC matchup, South Carolina versus Kentucky for DJ Big Boss. Ian, what about you? Follow him on Twitter at Babano. What do you got for best bets, buddy?
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's my best bet in the contest. There's a couple others I like. There's a couple I'm going to mention that we haven't gotten to. Temple laying the points against Georgia Tech. I like that one quite a bit. Great spot for Temple. Maryland beat them, or they beat Temple. They beat Maryland, obviously, a couple weeks ago. It's going to be a situation where I think Temple we talked about Georgia Tech many times. It's one of the biggest rebuilding jobs and 360-degree turns you could make in a program from one year to the next. When you go triple option, now you're going to go pro spread, and you don't have recruits to play that system. It's just been a world of hurt for Jeff Collins here. It could be a long day in his return to Temple, the team he used to coach today in that game. A situation where Georgia Tech, they lose to Citadel. They struggle with South Florida. They get absolutely bombed by Clemson. It's been a real rough go to start the season for them. I think Temple could win by double digits in that one. So I like Temple. What else was on the card here? The Nebraska-Ohio State game, we haven't talked about that. Kind of like the over in that game, 66. Like Ohio State's defense has been really, really good so far, but this is going to be the best offense and a mobile quarterback in Martinez. Haven't had to deal with a whole lot of that lately, and Ohio State should name the points they want to get against this Nebraska defense. So I see a lot of points in that game. For me, though, for best bet, we're going to go back to that FAU Charlotte game. We like it a lot. 64.5, I believe, is the best number out there right now in terms of the total. Yes, at Bookmaker/Chris, 64.5, and at 5 Dimes. So there's some people pushing this down. Last I checked in Charlotte, the weather was going to be good today. So I don't think there's going to be weather issues for this game. It's just some under sentiment, which I don't agree with. I think both of these offenses are good, and neither of these two defenses are that good. Pace on both sides. You're going to get some points in this one. Florida Atlantic, Charlotte, over 64.5 for me for best bet.
All right, and Big Ragoo down in the state of Florida. What are you looking for best bets, man?
I'm getting nervous on this one, but this is a team that made me money all year, and I've been doubling up with them. Wake Forest Demon Deacons. I like what Clausen's got going on down there with Newman. Newman's having an MVP year. He's able to put up points. They're averaging 40 points a game. They're going up against, on the road now, going against Boston College. Now, Boston College, they score some points too, but I think the class of teams I've been playing has been a little weak. I see some vulnerability there. I think the up-tempo offense is going to favor Wake in this matchup. And even though the line's coming down, I see some 5s and 4.5s out there. I'm gonna double up. I'm gonna take Wake Forest in the first half, laying a 3, and I'm gonna take Wake Forest full game -5. So I like this team a lot. They can score, and they're fast. And Clausen's really got a good program down there. I think it's gonna give BC some fits.
Okay, so I guess 2 best bets for you. You want to split it up?
Yeah, split it up. I'll split my bets. I'll go 1 unit and 1 unit on both first half and full game.
Okay, and what were those numbers, Big Ragoo?
-5 on the full game, -3 on the half. Wake Forest.
All right, so a little uniqueness there to the best bet, and going half a unit. I guess -3 first half, -5 on the full game. Wake Forest Demon Deacons. We got Ian Cameron FAU. Over 64.5 in the FAU Charlotte game. And we got DJ Big Boss, South Carolina, Kentucky, over 54. I'll finish it off here with New Mexico in Liberty, over 72. You can get that at most shops right now. There is some 72.5, so make sure to shop around. Half a point can be important if it lands on 72, save you some money. New Mexico versus Liberty in a high-scoring affair in the state of Virginia, over 72 for Ian Cameron, Big Ragoo, DJ Big Boss. I am Drew Martin. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets. Have a fun, safe Saturday, fun, safe weekend. We'll see you next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Good luck, everybody.
Best of luck. Cash them tickets.